All right, we are going to be subtracting the number 148 from 221 using three different methods. So the first method is the standard algorithm. So to start, you just write the two numbers on top of each other and then just subtract from there. So in the ones column, you don't have enough to subtract 8 from ones. You have to borrow 10 ones from 20, which makes that 1 and makes that 11 ones. So then you can subtract 8 ones from 11 ones and get 3. Then, again, you don't have enough 20s to subtract 4 20s or 4 10s from 1 10. So you're going to take a group of 100 and add it over here, which makes that 11 10s, and you can subtract 4 from that and get 7. Then, in the hundreds column, you have 100 minus 100, which just gives you 0, and this gives your final answer of 73. Next, you can do an adding up strategy and start at 148 and just add up until you get 221. So you'll add 2 to get 150, then add 50 to get 200, then add 20 to get 220, and then add one more to get 221. Then you can just add up these three numbers, and if you add up 50 plus 20 plus 2 plus 1, you get 73 as your answer. And this works because you're just adding numbers from the lowest number until you get to the highest number. And the last strategy is breaking up the number. So 221 is broken up into 200 plus 20 plus 1, and 148 is 100 plus 40 plus 8. And then you can basically just take pieces of both of these numbers and subtract them however you want, so it makes sense. So I did 200 minus 100 to get a simple number of 100, 20 minus 8 to get 12, 40 minus 1 to get 39. Then from there, you'll take 100, 12, and 39 and subtract them all together, because these three numbers are the same thing as subtracting 221 and 148. So that I took 39 and subtracted 12 from that to get 27. And then you can easily subtract 100 minus 27 to get 73 as your final answer. Here we have three ways of solving the multiplication problem 13 times 35. So the first way you can do it is just doing the standard algorithm, which you multiply each piece essentially. So the 5 times the 9, you get 45, and then 5 times this 1, which represents 10, you get 50, and then the 3 that it represents 30, because it's in the tens place, times 9 gets you 270, and then the 3 in the tens place, which is 30, and the 1 in the tens place, which is 10, gets you 300, and then you just add those all up to get 665. Similarly to that is doing a split up method, where essentially 19 equals 10 plus 9, and then 35 equals 30 plus 5, and then you'll do the same thing as standard algorithm, where you just multiply each piece together. So here's 10 times 30, 10 times 5, 30 times 9, and 5 times 9, and then you just add up all of these numbers to get 665. And these methods work because you are just splitting up the pieces of the problem and putting them together, and you still get 665 as your answer because multiplication is commutative, so you can essentially mix up each piece of the problem to get the answer. The last way you can do it is doing a doubling method. So I started with 35, and 35 doubled is 70, and then 70 doubled is 140, and then 140 doubled is 280, which 280 is essentially 8 doubles of 35, so 280 is 35 eight times. Then 280 doubled is 560, and then 560 plus 70, which is 2 copies of 35, is 630, and then if you just add one more 35, you get 665, which that makes it to be 19 copies, which is what you want as you're multiplying 19 times 35. You need 19 doubles of 35. So once you get 19 doubles of 35, that is your answer, and the answer is 665. And this method works because multiplication is essentially just repeated addition, and that's what the doubling method really is. You're just adding 35 together 19 times to get 665. All right, we are going to be dividing 495 divided by 15 two different ways. So the first way is by using the Big 7 method. So what you do is you essentially are just taking out groups of 15. So first you can take out as many groups in whatever order, it doesn't matter. So first I chose to take out 10 groups of 15, which is 150. And if you subtract that from 495 to get 345, and then from there, I took out 20 groups of 15, which is 300, and got 45. And then 45 is just 3 groups of 15, so I took out the last 3 groups. And then you add up the amount of groups you took out, so 10, 20, and 3, to get 33 as your final answer. And then, similarly to the Big 7 method, you can do standard algorithm. So essentially, you just take the 15 and you look at these numbers. So 15 can't go into 4, but it can go into 49. And 15 can go into 49 3 times. So 15 times 3 is 45. So you just write 45 here, and then subtract it from 49, which gives you 4 left over. But then you have this leftover 5, so you'll bring it down to get 45. And then 15 will go into 45 3 times. So you put the 3 up here, and then again, 15 times 3 is 45, which gets you 0. And these methods both work for large division problems because you are just seeing how many groups of 15 can go into 495, and they work the same, just slightly different. Because this one you can just take out as many groups as you want until you get to 0, but this one you're going in a certain pattern based upon the number. All right, we're going to be solving a problem with negative integers, and the problem is going to be -7 minus -5. So the first way we will be solving this is by using integer chips. So I just took -7 chips. So we have 7 chips here that are negative, and what you're going to do is just take away the -5 from that because you were subtracting a -5, and you can just take away 5 negative chips. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which leaves you with -2 chips right over here, which makes -2 your answer. And this works because you're just simply taking away the -5 chips from the -7 chips you already have. And now, in this problem on a number line, you're just going to start at -7 and hop to the right, because when you are subtracting a negative, you are essentially adding a positive number because you're taking away the negative from an already negative number, getting closer to 0 and the positive numbers. So we'll start at -7 and hop 1, hop 2, hop 3, hop 4, and hop 5, and that is the subtracting -5, which is the same thing as just adding 5, which gives you -2 as your answer.